Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to the witnesses for being here. I think it's safe to say that all of you are here today because you are opposed to government censorship. Is that right? Have I got that broadly correct? Okay, we can agree on that much. Book banning is a form of government censorship. Is that, broadly speaking, correct? Professor Knox, you're an expert in this. Let me just ask you. Book banning is a problem under the First Amendment because it's the government telling private individuals, authors, what have you, what they can and cannot write, telling the public what they can and cannot read. Is that, broadly speaking, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So now, what if the books were digital only? Could the government ban them then? So no hard copies, no physical copies, it's just digital books. Could the government engage in book banning then under the First Amendment? No problem.
No, that's about a format of the particular book, and that really doesn't matter when it comes to whether or not government is banning a book.
Okay, what if the government made a list of authors whose books it wanted banned, and also went to all of the publishing houses in America, the government did, and said, do not publish the books by any of these authors or we will punish you? Is that a problem under the First Amendment?
My hope is that the government would not be involved in the decisions of a private company.
Good. I would hope so too, but apparently that is not the case in the United States of America today under this administration, because the hypotheticals I've just given you aren't hypotheticals at all. They've happened, and we know that they are happening. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals just ruled in a case, Missouri versus Biden. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. It's going to go down, I think, as a landmark case in the worst possible way in First Amendment law, because what the Court of Appeals found is that the White House, not just the federal government, but the White House, actively coerced every major social media platform in America. Let me say that again. Every major social media platform in America to ban speech that the White House did not like. What are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about speech on the COVID-19 pandemic, speech on the 2022 congressional elections, speech related to mask mandates, speech related to vaccines. What did the White House do? Well, over a period of years, they met with, on a regular basis, the leaders of social media companies and demanded that the speech they did not like be taken down. They further demanded that these same social media companies amplify the White House's speech. Amazing. So take down all of this speech that we don't like, amplify our own speech. Unbelievable. What kind of speech are we talking about? Well, for example, not just public officials, but parents. Here's an example from my state, the state of Missouri. I'm reading you from the opinion here. One parent who posted on Nixdoor.com, which is a site operated by Facebook, posted an online petition to encourage his school to remain mask optional, found that his posts were removed without notifying him, and his friends never saw them. Another parent in the same school district who objected to mask mandates for school children responded to Dr. Fauci on Twitter and promptly received a warning from Twitter that his account would be banned if he did not delete the tweets criticizing Dr. Fauci's approach to mask mandates. These objections, amazingly, this censorship was taken at the direct behest of the federal government, the direct behest of the Biden administration. Professor Knox, is this a violation of the First Amendment?
Only a judge can make that determination.
And a judge has. I'm glad you said that. Multiple judges. The district court, federal district court, said there was a direct First Amendment violation. Court of Appeals unanimously, 3-judge panel, unanimously said direct First Amendment violation. I can't think of another time in American history when the President of the United States, and I say that advisedly because the record reflects that White House officials were sending emails and communications to these companies saying that the President himself wanted the censorship. So you've got the government doing exactly what Professor Knox said is not permitted under the First Amendment, directly coercing the speech of private parties, and not just one or two authors, but parents all across the country. Unprecedented in the history of this nation. So I'm glad we're having this hearing today. I hope that we will have more like it to expose the censorship happening at the highest levels of our government. Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that this opinion, this judgment by the Fifth Circuit, Missouri versus Biden, be entered into the record in full.
Without objection.
I will leave it there. I know there are other Senator Kennedys here who want to ask questions, but I just want to say for the record that this kind of censorship is un-American, it is unconstitutional, and I hope it will go down as a sad chapter in American history that we can close here and now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Flashback.
Thanks, Karine. I wanted to ask about this decision we saw yesterday in Louisiana on the White House contact with social media companies. Does the White House have a response to the judge basically saying that this is the most massive attack on free speech in the U.S. history?
So, as you know, DOJ is reviewing the decision, the injunction, and so I don't want to get ahead of what they will evaluate and their options could potentially be. So, I'm not going to get ahead of the DOJ. If you're asking me if we agree or disagree, we certainly disagree with this decision. And as I said, the DOJ is reviewing this, so I'm not going to get ahead of what their evaluation, what options they're going to potentially take on moving forward.
As it relates to this district judge ruling about social media and the injunction thereof, can you speak to the frequency of contacts that White House officials or administration officials more broadly have with social media companies and the types of content that they would be flagging, and how much is this a blow to the White House's goal of preventing the dissemination of misinformation, disinformation?
So look, I can't speak to the amounts that contact has. I mean, that is just not a possible thing to do from here. What I can say is that DOJ, again, is reviewing the injunction, and they're going to look into, evaluate our options. So just not going to get ahead of that, and so I'll just leave that from here.
Yeah, about the injunction, do you plan to change your approach to social media policy in the wake of the Louisiana judge's ruling? A lot of that had to do with like the pandemic, which is now over. Are you still taking the same approach to social media now as you were then, and will you change now?
Look, again, the DOJ is looking at this. It's under their review. They're reviewing this, the injunction. So I'm not going to get ahead of them. They're going to they're going to evaluate all the options. So I'm going to say that, put that out there to you at this time. But look, we're going to continue to promote responsible actions. I said this moments ago. That is something that we're going to continue to do to make sure that we protect public health, to make sure that there's safety and security. So that is something that we're going to continue to do. We do disagree. I said this earlier, moments ago. We do disagree with this decision, but the DOJ is going to take a look at this, and they'll come up and with their own options and evaluate this.
And specifically, do you disagree with the judge's ruling that this coordination was a form of censorship that specifically targeted conservative speech?
Look, we disagree with the decision. I'll leave it there, and I'm going to let DOJ move forward with their evaluating process of this.
Will the administration be appealing the injunction, the ruling?
I just said the DOJ is reviewing this injunction, and they're going to evaluate their options. So it's for their decision to make.
And then, can you just respond to the judge's accusation that each topic suppressed by the administration was a conservative view? He had a pretty strong statement. The U.S. government seems to have assumed a role similar to an Orwellian Ministry of Truth. Can you respond to that?
I'm just not going to respond to the Attorney General or the judge. I'll let the Department of Justice do that.